Today we are taking one of my favorite things and meshing them together into one awesome fun project. We are making a heart-shaped mug rug out of teeny tiny squares straight out of our scrap pile. I am very excited about this one, guys. Let's go. Okay, so this is the heart shape I've drawn as a template to our project. We're letting our heart do the talking here today. Maybe it's because Valentine's is right around the corner. And I did this with a 7-inch square, okay? I just folded in half and drew half a heart, then cut it and voila. And I used it to cut out a piece of thermal adhesive, and Hidden Bond is always my favorite for these kinds of projects. If you have another brand to recommend me, let me know. And this will be the basis for this project. And now come the mini squares. Oh, how I missed my mini squares, guys. Now, I personally picked red, pink, you know, with a little white in the mix, but you can pick whatever color you prefer. And you know, if you want to do this as a gift, say a Valentine's gift maybe, you can use that person's favorite colors. Okay, so we need lots of 1-inch squares in the color of our choice. If we were making a square, we would need 49, right? 7 by 7. But since the heart grows narrower in the end, you probably won't need as much. I am making 45. We probably get away with 43. Let's see. And we need a temporary glue pen like this one. And why is this necessary? Why are you using the pen? Because I want to be able to place my squares where I want them, but I also want to be able to remove them if I change my mind or if I find a better place for them. And while this is thermal adhesive, I don't want to have to iron one square at a time, and even if I did, I wouldn't be able to relocate them. You can use pins, but the fabric won't lay as flat, so yeah, for me, this is the best way to do it in my opinion, but if you have other ways, let me know, okay? Also, you can fill this heart up with teeny tiny squares the traditional way, but I want to try something different, so I will be adding my squares diagonally. You know, little diamonds. I start at the longest tip and work my way up. Yes, it is slightly harder to keep them all lined up, but totally worth it. We want them to be perfectly lined up, okay? No white spaces in between. And you know the drill, we have done this before. We want all our squares to be touching each other, no spaces in between, just nestled, okay? You know, Valentine projects hold a very special place in my heart. The very first item I made, listed and sold on Etsy was a Valentine's tablecloth. It was red and white and had little hearts appliqued into it. I think I even managed to write the word love with my sewing machine somehow. It was so precious. I was kind of sad to see it go, but very excited with my first sale. Okay guys, so now we press them in place, and be careful to press them, not drag the iron around, okay? That can move the squares and stretch the adhesive, both things we do not want for this one. Okay, I think this is nice and stuck. It is not going anywhere, let me tell you. Okay, so now we get a piece of batting, and this is what I use for my quilts, 100% cotton batting. And I want to cut a heart that's slightly larger than the one we have here. And the reason for this is we want our squares to show as much as possible. If we added a batting that's the exact same size, when we were to add the binding, we would then cover all those squares around, you know, on the corners. This way, the binding covers the batting and only slightly the squares, and we get more squares on show. Now, for the back, you can add a back that's as big as your batting and then add a bias tape or something like that as binding, or you can make sure your backing works as self-binding by making it bigger than the batting, say like an inch or so. At this point, I'm trying to keep my options open here, okay? I haven't decided how I'll bind this beauty. I'm not sure if I will be using the self-binding method or if I'll be adding a bias tape. So I'm not ready to make that decision yet, so I'm just going to make my fabric a little bit larger, about an inch or so, and then decide, okay? We want to center our layers and then pin them. Okay, let's make this sandwich. And now it's time to sew. We are using a zigzag stitch. We want it to be tight and tall so it catches all of our layers, okay? I'm picking white for the thread, but you can use whichever color you prefer. I usually end up picking white. I think it, cleanses the view a little bit. It just makes everything a little bit softer. Because you know what? The color of the thread does have a big impact on the overall look of your work. For me, white gives it a clean look. Let's put it like that. It just helps the eye to rest a little bit. If I picked like pink or red, I think it would be too much considering the amount of color we already have here, right? Okay, let's stitch all of these squares in place once and for all. Guys, future Sandy here. So yeah, my sewing machine went completely rogue here. Well, if I'm honest, I was the one who made it happen. With the rug I shared a couple of weeks ago, I pierced my bobbin case with a very sturdy needle and it just messed the whole thing up. The tension went completely crazy, so the zigzag stitch I will be trying to make, it won't be a zigzag stitch in the slightest. It will still look really, really cute, okay? So if you could just imagine a zigzag stitch there, or just see it for the cuteness that it is, minus the screwed up stitches, I'd love that. I apologize, but I still think it carries itself. I think it is a lovely project, minus that itsy bitsy detail that it's not a zigzag stitch. It's not. I can tell you that it is, because it isn't. My machine is currently in repairs and should be back soon, better than ever, because honestly, I have had issues with it since the start. Thanks guys, let's keep going. But anyway, this is looking pretty cute, right? A romantic, sweet mug rug to put a smile on your face every morning. Particularly if your machine works and you do a proper zigzag stitch, trust me, it will put a smile on your face every morning. All there's left for us to do here is to sew the binding. And like I said, we could go the self-binding route, just fold the fabric in and sew it. But honestly, that's just too much work. With all the curves and whatnot, and all I've been through with my sewing machine, I want simple. I want easy. I want gorgeous, okay? So for me, the easiest way to do a binding is using a ribbon. Just like this one. This is actually what I use to make my Sandione shop tags. So yeah, I'm using a ribbon, a narrow one preferably. We don't want any extra fabric getting in the way and having to be folded or something like that. And I will be sewing it by hand because, like I said, my sewing machine is gone and getting the help it desperately needs. But with the ribbon, you get no complicated corners. We just start at the bottom and work our way up. As I sew, I am catching both sides, but you can totally do one at a time. And actually, it's easier if you do one at a time. So yeah, just have fun with it. And if you're sewing this by hand, like I'm doing, it will be pretty quick. If you decide to do it by machine, it will be quicker, but you will also need a lot more concentration to make sure, those stitches are on point. Particularly if you're trying to get the two layers sewn at once. Now let me show you how I fold the ribbon in this V. And I bet this was the part that made you the most nervous, right? Me too, if I'm honest, but look how simple this is. So we just go back a little bit and then we carry on and we add a few stitches just to make sure this V isn't moving, isn't going anywhere. And then we just continue. Now when we reach the end of it, we just fold it under and then we add a couple of stitches and we're done. You know, I have made quite a few mug rugs, but this is definitely my favorite so far. What do you think? Guys, thank you for doing this with me. I have had a blast, you know, minus all the... Guys, thank you for doing this with me. I apologize again on behalf of my sewing machine, but really it was my fault, so on my behalf. Still had a blast though, and I hope you did too, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye!